Goes on here on Missouri Valley Media Day. We're now joined by UNI head coach Ben Jacobson. And coach, it's an era where we see programs lose players that transfer over and over and over again. We've talked to a couple coaches here that have lost 10, 11, 12 players to the portal. And you guys lost some pieces, but it was to graduation. You didn't lose players to the portal. You've been able to retain, I believe it's 8 rotation guys, 3/4 of whom were starters for you this past season. How beneficial is that as you get ready for a season where you kind of know what you have and those pieces, those players that you have, know what they can expect out of you as a coach?
Well, I think it's big. Even last year we didn't have the same number of returning either starters or guys that played a bunch, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the guys that did come back were Titan Anderson, Jacob Hudson, Trey Campbell, R.J. Taylor, Kyle Polk, some guys that hadn't played as much. But Ty, Huddy, and Trey, you've got 3 guys that have been with Ty and Trey in our program for a long time, and now we go into this year with even more of them. You touched on it. We've got kind of 7, 8 guys that have played for us, that have been in the program. Trey's going to be a 4-year starter for us, and now the transfers from last year, Leon, Ben, Max, those guys now going into their second year, and those guys make the decision to come back and be together. So I think it's big. It just allows us to to start in a little different place, right? You always got to get to the same place at some point in
Mm-hmm.
the season, right? But when we've got 11 total guys back, 7 that played for us, you can just start in a little different place. And I also think that it helps. So we've got a couple transfers up front. It helps those guys to have players around them, terminology or a drill, things that we're doing early on. Like their learning curve is sped up a little bit because you've got 11 guys around them that have been here.
Ben, I don't know who the vocal leader was, if it was Ty or Hudson last year, but I assume Trey is a guy who's grown up around there, been in the program for 3 years. Have you challenged him to be an even better leader if he was a leader last year? How important will he be this season to not only your success on the court but also off it?
Yeah, we were actually at maybe 45 minutes ago. Guys, Trey was in here and we were watching a little bit of film, and I was talking to him about that very thing. Jeff, just we hear his voice more now than we have, right? By personality, by nature, Trey is laid back and easygoing, right? Now he's a competitor. He makes the number of important shots, big shots he's made for us. Like he's a shot maker, and he makes them when it counts. And so he's wired in terms of the competition and coming up with important plays. And what I've asked him to do, what I've challenged him to do is just a little bit more with his voice. Can you be a little bit more vocal? Okay? Wear it on your sleeve just a little bit more with your emotions. But while you're doing that, what I really want you to do is set the tone for us defensively, with your actions. Let your teammates see, how important it is that we have a great defensive team. So set the tone defensively with your actions. Let's keep working to hear your voice a little bit more. Wear your emotions on your sleeve just a little bit more. But I've always been a guy like I want our young guys to be who they are. Right now, that doesn't void them of increasing responsibility as you get older. Right, when you've had experiences and for Trey, a lot of positive experiences. We need as you go through our program, and we want guys to, right? We want them to take on more responsibility. We want them to understand the value of leadership. And Trey did it with his decision in the spring to come back and play for us. Like that's leadership, right? And that matters to his teammates, right? Our guys on our team wanted to know, okay, well, is Trey coming back? Because if Trey's coming back, then I'm coming back. Like that's a real thing. So he's providing great leadership. And the challenge for him, like I said, let's set the tone defensively with your actions. Like get a little bit grittier, right? Get into the ball and set the tone for us. And And then it's just keep working to get your voice out there a little more and wear your emotion on your sleeve a little bit more. But I haven't. I've never been a guy to force guys to do something in the way of leadership or really um, try to be somebody different than who they are. But man, as you get older, right, you want to be on a championship team. As you get older,
Mhm.
you got to be willing to take on more responsibility, and Trey is doing that.
So I think your perimeter is kind of all known quantities, right? You got Trey back, you got Max back, you got Ben back, RJ and Leon. We'll talk to them in a second, but they're should be back from their injuries this season. The front court is where it's you're going to try to have to figure some new things out. Obviously, with Titan and Jacob gone, so you got Tristan Smith coming in from NAIA. Will Hornsmith is back for his sophomore season. You got Ishmael Diouf from NC State, and I'm going to try to get this right. Marino Dubrovcic from Baylor. I was close.
Close.
What is it?
Yeah, Dubrovich.
Dubrovich. All right, maybe I wasn't.
What do you call him, Ben? Ben, you do not use his full name. We know that. What do you? Go ahead.
I call him Marino, although most days it's big fella.
All right, there you go.
I do call him Marino, but most days it's big fella.
So how was that front court looking, and how is it kind of coming together?
Yeah, it's been good. Look, July was a really fun month for me as our head coach. A really good month for us. There's a lot of progress. June we were, um, slow going would maybe be the best way I could put it, and a lot of that to do with Titan and Huddy not being here, and in particular, at the offensive end. The responsibility of our center and our power forward or our hybrid guys up front, the responsibility for our pace offensively is tied directly to those positions. And so the two fifth-year guys being gone with Ty and Huddy, just a little slow going in June. But, man, we had a good finish in July, and those guys made some really good progress. I tell you, super excited for Will Hornseth. His role last year, he's behind two fifth-year guys that are good players. And so, had not been for Huddy and for Ty, Will would have played more minutes last year. He was ready for that. But super excited for him. I think he's one of those guys in our league where you see him as a freshman, as a fan, maybe as an opponent, and you think, oh wow, yeah, he looks like he's going to be pretty good someday. And for me and for us, that day is right now. He's a really good player. So really excited for Will and where he's at, and he's going to start for us at that center position, and his skill level is really high. And so excited about that piece with him. And then Tristan is the most ready, guys, of the three transfers that you mentioned. Tristan is the most ready, and I think what we found out, right, as we've gone through this, the level doesn't matter all that much. NAIA, Division II, Division I, like we saw it in our league last year with what Ben did with his team at Drake, bringing all those guys up from Division II and what they were able to accomplish. And we've seen it with other guys individually, right? So, and Tristan would be a great example of that. And I think a lot of that's because basically been a 4-year starter where he was at Concordia in Nebraska, and that a ton of responsibility and the main guy and the confidence that comes with it. So Tristan's really doing well, had a good summer and doing well right now. And Ismail's battled a little bit of some injuries, so hasn't been able to practice, as much as he would like or we would like, but he's got a high skill level and he's big at 6'9", and can really, I think, be a very, very good player for us. We just got to get him all the way healthy, and that should happen here soon. And then he's the biggest guy on our roster, and he's worked hard to get. He wasn't in very good shape when he got here, and he's worked really hard to get in better shape. And so we'll see what that means. And the other guy throwing the mix is Chase Corbett. He's a fifth-year guy for us and has not played for us, but the best shape he's ever been in. The game has slowed down for him. So we've got some guys up there. It's different than having two fifth-year seniors, as you said, right? I mean, it just is. But there's two things I would tell you. One, that group is going to be good enough, I feel like, after being around them for almost 3 months now, June, July, and September. They're going to be good enough. They're about the right things. And then two, we don't need the same kind of leadership out of that group as we got from Titan and Huddy. Ty and Huddy being fifth-year guys, right? Not only did they need to be two of our best players every night, they also needed to do all the other stuff. That shifts a little bit over to Trey and Ben and Leon and Max and RJ and even Kyle. Kyle's a tremendous communicator, right? So we've got, some of that leadership and some of the day to day. That doesn't need to be the responsibility of Will as a sophomore and the transfers as new guys. That can get shifted into the experience in the backcourt, and so I think that helped those guys up front.
So I know you're big on conditioning with this team, but I want to ask you, what about your conditioning? How did the half marathon go this past off season?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking, Jeff. It went great. I wanted to do 2 hours and 10 minutes. I did not want to 2 hours, 9 minutes and 59 seconds. Okay. I didn't want it
Okay,
to be 2 hours and 10 minutes. So that was my goal going in. I trained for about 4 months. Training went good. I did 2 hours, 7 minutes, and I think it was 51 seconds maybe. So
good.
it went good, man.
Was it the whole fam? Like, how many was it? You and a bunch of family members, and where did you fit in? If it was you and a bunch of family,
It ended up just being me. A
really?
college teammate is the one I would never. We did this like 11, 12 years ago. We did it back to back years only because the same college teammate, David Robertson is his name.
Yeah.
He just out of nowhere, and he's more of a runner and had been okay. But I would never have done a half marathon had it not been for David saying, "Hey, we're going to do this, right?" And we're best friends, and that's what teammates do, right? He's like, I said, "All right, fine." Well, we did it back to back years. He emailed me in January and said, "Hey, we got to do it again." And I'm like, "All right." So that's how it happened. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, there wasn't anybody else out there.
All right. Well, the last thing I got for you is RJ Taylor and Leon Bond. I kind of mentioned them a little bit earlier. They're obviously coming off of injuries. What are their statuses, and are you expecting to have both of them at the start of the season?
Yes, both are a part of everything right now. So they're healthy. If we had a game tomorrow, both of them would be. They are ready to go. Okay? Yeah, so they're in a good spot that way. Um, I would tell you RJ's probably 100% healthy, right? But I would say maybe kind of 85% back to the speed, the quickness,
Mhm.
last week we were watching a little bit of film, and he's kind of hopping all over the place defensively, and kind of anxious to be back out there, and threw a pass right into three guys, and just some things that had he not been out for 7 months, he wouldn't be doing. So I would say, another 2 weeks, he's going to be 90, kind of 90%. Mid October, mid to late October, I expect that he'll be 95 to 100% in terms of being all the way back. Again, feel, passing, his quickness, his speed, um, how hard he can play for longer. So that's still coming, but 100% healthy. And it's just great to have that, he's a playmaker, right? And he's a connector. And so great to have him on the
Yep.
practice floor. And yeah, and then Leon's doing great. He's healthy. And doing really well. Like he's, from a year ago until right now, guys, he's in a totally different place.
Good.
Just the way he is every day at practice, practicing hard, and his confidence is different. He worked tremendous. Put in a lot of time on his jump shot this summer. He's shooting the ball at a much higher clip than he was, when he got here a year ago, and because he put that time in. So he's and I just, injuries are, the timing is never good with injuries, but he was just starting to really take off. Okay. And Ben, was at that same point. Ben stayed healthy, and we kind of saw what he was like that last month. So, yeah, Leon's in a good spot. I'm excited for him.
Last one I have for you, Ben. I remember you signed a 10-year deal at UNI back. I don't know. It had to be 15 years ago. I know you got a new contract over the offseason, a 5-year rolling contract. When people think of UNI, they think of you. You're one of those guys. So many coaches have bounced over the years. What does it mean to you? What does UNI mean to you? Because again, you've just been there so long to help build this thing.
Yeah, and I think the first thing I would tell you is it's a place that we can win at a high level. Like this is big time basketball, and it should be, right? I don't start there to have it be like, oh, I have to try to defend the Missouri Valley, or put us into a different place. Like we've done it over the course of time, right? Where we've won championships. We've been in the NCAA tournament. We've won games in the NCAA tournament. So I guess I start there like that for me, because that leads me to the next piece, and that's the players. Right? We've been able to recruit and have just some guys that are really really competitive. The guys that understand. Maybe they come in and start as a freshman and start all 4 years. Maybe they come in and it takes a year or two. Maybe they come in like Marvin Singleton. You got to put 3 years in, and man, but your fourth year, you're starting on a team that wins 31 games. Like all of that when it comes to players that are willing to buy into what we're doing. So I think that's what comes to mind first, Jeff, is the being at a place that can win championships and win games in the NCAA tournament, and have some consistency to what we're doing. And then again, like I said, it just that comes back to who you're recruiting and the players you've got in your program, and then when you talk about the contract, having leadership, right? Leadership matters, right? It matters for all of us. It doesn't matter what we're doing, and I think it gets talked about a lot in college athletics, but having an athletic director, having a president, like having those two positions on campus, what that means to a basketball program, what that means to an athletic department, that there's no way to under or overstate whichever word is supposed to fit that sentence. There's no way to do that. Okay? And I love our leadership right now. Our new athletic director got here just over a year ago, and she is. I've said this to some groups when donors or golf outing, like to some different groups. Man, she is determined. She is very aware of what's going on around us within our league, nationally, and she's going to do everything she can with the help of our president to position us to be right where we all want to be. So that's the piece of it that I really enjoy, knowing that we can compete for things at a high level with young guys that want to be at Northern Iowa.
Well, Ben, we appreciate you being here. You have a 5-year rolling contract. Jeff Goodman has a 5-day rolling contract with us. As long as he doesn't do something dumb, he has 5 days more of employment with us. Yep. And every single day we re-up that. Appreciate you being here, man. Best of luck this season.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.